With the war on remote workers seeming to hit a fevered pitch, companies are now forcing people back into the office at record pace. And unfortunately, if you're primarily somebody that's looking for remote work, it doesn't give you as many options as it might have given you just a couple of years ago. Especially if you're somebody that works outside of the tech industry, which we all know tends to have more remote jobs. But not to worry, I've scoured the internet and found some major corporations that still offer high quality jobs that are remote first. But before we get into that, if you're somebody that's in an active job search or you're anticipating being in an active job search and you want more content just like this directly from a corporate recruiter, consider hitting that subscribe button. So the criteria that I used to narrow this down was number one, I wanted to find major corporations. So household names that you've heard of. And I also wanted to find companies that didn't offer just technical related positions. So for the person who is non-tech related, there's still some hope for you. And then I also wanted to find companies that were predominantly based in the United States, although a lot of these companies will have a global presence. And I wanted to make sure that there was more than just a couple of positions. So I looked for companies that hire volume, where it seems to be part of their corporate culture. And I also wanted to broaden the industry type, so they're all across the board. So hopefully there's something for everybody here. First up is Dropbox. And yes, it is technically a tech company, but the company has a lot of other jobs besides just technical roles that are all 100% remote. Dropbox is a remote first work culture and one that I would put high on my list if I was looking for a remote job. If you're not familiar with what Dropbox is, they are best known for their online storage and collaboration software. So if we go over their website and we scroll down to their jobs, so then we would click on look for a job and we can scroll down and look by all the different teams. If you notice one thing here on all their job postings, they all say remote. And obviously some of them are going to be software, some of them are going to be in finance. But again, every single position you can find on their site is going to be in a remote setting. So if you're looking for a remote first job, Dropbox would be high on my list of companies to set alerts for and try to be an early applicant. Next up, we have Allstate, and most people have probably heard of Allstate before. They're a large insurance company, and the nice thing about Allstate is they have a lot of remote first positions. So let's head over to their job search, and one of the things that you notice immediately is they've got an option for remote or home-based worker. So that's a really good sign that you're going to find some great opportunities. It looks like we've got 67 positions currently posted that are all remote, and it looks like it's all across different functionalities. You've got sales roles, you've got marketing positions, you've got estimators, you've got employee experience. That would be more of a human resources type role. You've got some technical roles. So if you're looking for remote, you might want to consider Allstate as well. Next up, we have Fidelity. And if you've never heard of Fidelity before, they're in finance. The interesting thing about Fidelity is they're kind of bucking the trend and going against the stream, against a lot of their peers who are forcing people back into the office. A lot of these CEOs from big banks have been very public about their desire to force people back into the office and end this remote work. If you're interested in finance, you may want to check out Fidelity because they might have some remote jobs still available. Let's go and check out their career sections. Now, it's giving us 25 results, which isn't great, but at least it's something to consider. If you've got division managers here, you've got education consultants, retirement planning. So if you're in finance or you're a financial planner, this definitely would be something that I would set up an alert for. You can see these alerts that you can set up down here. Just for giggles, let's click on the hybrid and see what happens. Whoa, okay, so if you wanted to do hybrid or remote, if you can go in a couple of times a week, potentially, it jumps all the way up to 520. So it might be a really great option if you're looking for a remote job or you can work hybrid. It's going to give you a lot of options. And because there's so few companies that support remote work and finance anymore, this would definitely be one that I would put on my short list. Next up, we have Thermo Fisher Scientific, which is a supplier of analytical instrumentation for laboratories, pharmaceutical industry, the biotech industry. So they make equipment for these different industries. The nice thing about them is they offer a lot of remote jobs. So let's take a quick look and see what we find when we search for remote positions. And let's just take a look at the United States. They've got 203 current positions that are identified as fully remote positions. So that's really good. We've got clinical research roles. We've got customer and technical support roles, IT. They've got some IT positions, some finance, operations, a bunch of sales roles, and they've even got some entry level. So those of you who are looking for your first jobs, it might be worth looking at Thermo Fisher Scientific. Next up, we have the Mayo Clinic. And if you're not familiar with what the Mayo Clinic is they are the largest not-for-profit healthcare system in the entire world. So in other words, they're a massive organization, and if you're looking for a remote job in the healthcare industry, they may be one to keep high on your list. If we head to their careers website and we search for remote roles, currently, it looks like they've got 95 positions open for remote. Looks like a lot of their jobs are in the technical space. However, there are positions outside of that in other departments. I saw some statistician roles. There's a revenue analyst position here, systems analyst, which is tech. We've got, I believe I saw an operations analyst position, business development. So there's some developer roles. Vendor management positions. So if you're looking in the healthcare space, check out Mayo Clinic. They might have some positions for you. Next up, we have Microsoft, and I think everybody on the planet has heard of Microsoft at this point in time. They obviously make operating systems and computer equipment, and they also make the Xbox. And the nice thing about Microsoft, and just like Fidelity, but in the tech space, they're bucking the trend, and they are supporting a lot of remote first jobs even while their competitors are forcing people back into the office. The nice thing about Microsoft's Career Center is that they have a filter for 100% remote positions, and you can see there's a whopping 867 positions currently listed as 100% remote. And if you wanted to add in a hybrid blend, you could go with a 50% work model where you add another 1,600 positions. Now, keep in mind that this is a global search, but you can see already there's business development or business program managers that are 100% remote. We've got program managers. There are some technical, so TPMs, that would be a technical role. A lot of these will probably be in the tech space. If you want to search for maybe like human resources, let's just see what pops up. A lot of program managers, partner leads, sales. Doesn't look like there's a ton of HR roles on here. But there's looks like even some real estate positions. So there's a bunch. If you go in and you search by Microsoft, I'm sure you'll find something that's relevant for you. Next up, we have Lockheed Martin. Now, if you're not familiar with Lockheed Martin, they are in the aerospace industry. They obviously make aviation components and airplanes and that sort of thing. But they're also a defense contractor, so a massive company. And the nice thing about Lockheed Martin is they have a lot of remote positions. So if we were to click onto their website and go and search for the jobs that are all remote, you can see a lot of different positions. There's 855 that are at least full remote or part-time remote, and they're all different levels. We've got interns, we've got there's government relations. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of software roles, but we've got analyst positions. We've got mechanical design engineer, early mechanical design engineers. Some of these, I'm wondering, let's see. And yeah, sure enough, at least you have the ability to work part-time. It's a hybrid position, which a hybrid could work very well for some people, especially in early career, where you may want some of that mentoring on site, but you also want to not have to necessarily go to an office every day. So there's a lot of great positions at Lockheed Martin. I would definitely keep Lockheed Martin on my short list as well. Next up, we have Instacart. If you're not familiar with what Instacart does, it's a super useful tool. It's in the tech space, but it is a tool that we probably all have used at some point. It's basically remote shopping where you can hire somebody to do your shopping for you and they deliver it to you. Super handy, especially those of us who didn't want to leave the house during the winter months. And I think when the pandemic was at its height, Instacart probably had a pretty strong growth trajectory. The great thing about Instacart is they have a remote first workplace culture, so all their positions are going to be remote. So if you go and you look at their job site, you can see a bunch of director level roles in accounting and finance. Again, all of them list out remote. Business development, customer care. You've got some obviously engineering roles. They are a tech company. You've got some HR positions and product roles. These are all remote positions. Some of them will physically have to be on site just because of the nature of the job, but in general, all their positions are going to be remote. Now, keep in mind, Instacart is one of the smaller companies on this list, so they're not going to have as many job postings, but they are a remote first employer. So if you're interested in remote first, you may want to consider them when you're doing your job search. Now, obviously, this is just a small sliver of the companies who offer these remote jobs, But the good news is that there are companies who still do hire remote positions, even in this current job market. Now you have to keep in mind, because these jobs are remote, they're going to get a lot of competition and a lot of applications. That means that your job application has to stand out from the rest. So if you see a job on this list and you feel like you're a really strong fit for the role, make sure that your resume clearly shows the fit. Otherwise, you might get a rejection, and it can be pretty frustrating seeing that perfect remote job. But if you need more help conveying that you're an effective fit, that's actually something that I specialize in. I have a website called lifeafterlayoff.com. It's loaded with tips and tricks, all from an insider's perspective. I'm a corporate recruiter with over 20 years of experience interviewing and hiring thousands of people into some of the world's most well-known and well-respected companies. Share some of my deepest and most intimate knowledge in the form of some training courses. And the first one is going to be how to get your name actually seen by these recruiters who are getting bombarded with these applications. It's called Resume Rocketfuel, designed to teach you exactly how to write a resume. It's going to give you the best chance of getting noticed for these remote first positions. And once you get your foot in the door, it's going to be up to you to market yourself effectively by expertly navigating each round of the interview process. And that's where the Ultimate Job Seeker Bootcamp comes in. We take you from job search all the way through each round of the interview, ultimately get you to the job offer, and then we help you negotiate the best possible terms so that you don't leave a dime on the table. But if you see one of these great jobs and you think you're a perfect fit for it, the best way to do it is to skip the recruiter altogether. If you don't know how to do that on LinkedIn, I actually created a course called Unlocking LinkedIn, which will teach you how to skip the recruiter, get to the front of the line, how to unlock the hidden job market, and how to use these tools in personal branding in order to get yourself known and seen by these recruiters without having to go through the traditional process. So if you're in your job search and you're not leveraging LinkedIn to its fullest capacity, check out Unlocking LinkedIn. Anyway, I hope this video gives you some ideas to start searching for those elusive remote jobs. And I know you find a great one, and I'm rooting for you. Appreciate you watching, and we will see you on the next one.